Hi, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to show you how to make this Christmas ball cover. There's a lot of variations on it. It's based on a netting here, and we're going to be making these, and I'm going to be using a couple different materials. This one here has a couple crystals hanging from the bottom. We're just going to use some other little beads here at the bottom. What I'm going to be using for this are some size 10 English beading needles. I just need one needle. I'm going to be using two colors of seed beads. This one I'm using opaque red and opaque green in a size 11O, and I feel like you can't really get more Christmas than opaque green and opaque red, so I'm going with those two colors. The other thing I'm using is wildfire beading thread in .006, and then I'm going to also pick up, after I get it kind of started, I'm going to pick up 10 beads of a different size to do some of my drops here at the ends, and I'm either going to go with crystals or some gemstones that add that green and red together. So that's the materials you're going to use. You're also going to use a little bit of super new glue when we get ready and kind of get into the base of this. So before we get into the bracelet, I actually want you to copy this down and write this down, which will help you as you get your rows. After a while, it's going to get rather repetitive going around and around and around in this netting pattern. It's going to be the same thing over and over and over again. The only thing that's going to change is the number of beads that we use in each row. The first row is going to have 10 sections, which is going to be 40 beads total of 3 of one color, 1 of the other. You can really change around then the A-B pattern, A being the green seed bead, B being the red. You can really change around which quantities you do of each, but row 2 is going to have 7 beads, row 3, 9, row 4, 13, row 5, 13, row 6, 19, row 27, or row 20, or sorry, row 7, 23, row 8, we're going to have 10 sections of 9 beads, crystal 9 beads. So you're going to learn how to make this whole thing here using the different beads, but these are going to be your numbers. And if you notice also, it's always going to be an odd count of bead that you're using. So the first thing that I've done is I've cut 4 feet of beading thread and I've put it onto my needle. I'm only working with one needle, and I'm going to start out with my pattern of 3-1. 3-1 is going to be my pattern. I'm going to use 3 of color A, which is going to be my green bead, 1 of color B. And I'm going to continue that for 40 beads total. So I'm doing 10 rotations of those color mix. So I'm going to do 10 sections of this 3-1 the whole way around. So I have 3 on here. I'm going to get 7 more sections to go on this, and I'm doing just the 3-1-3. And you want to make sure before you start, you can kind of measure your Christmas ball, and if you need it to be a little bit bigger around the top, you can get it a little bit bigger and do a couple more rows. Also, if you're doing a miniature one, you can do less rows and just play around with a number. The balls that work really, really great for these are just the standard Christmas ball size. And I'm still going here with my pattern. And then what I generally do is I count my off color bead, which is going to be my B bead, and that's going to be my red bead. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need 2 more of these. And then I'm going to get ready to make it rounded. And you're going to end on your B color bead. So I have my beads ready to go, and what I'm going to do is let them drop down to the very end of my cording, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a circle. I'm not going to use a lot of thread or leave a lot of thread here at the end because I really don't need it, because I'm just going to end up clipping it off anyway after I glue it. I tie 1 knot, and then I'm going to tie another knot. At the very end, I will glue this. I don't do it now because I want to make sure that I'm not gluing any of the holes shut on my beads. So I have my 2 knots there. If you want and you like to knot, you can knot a 3rd time. I would actually use, with the colors that I'm doing, my green wildfire thread, but the black is really, really easy to see and for you to see on camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm coming between right now. I've knotted between one of my red and my green groupings. I'm going to take my needle back through a whole red and green grouping, and I'm going to come out one of my red beads, so one of my B beads. My next row is my row of 7, so I'm going to use 7 beads. Because it's an odd count, I'm always going to use the odd color. So I'm going to switch here. I'm going to do 3 of one color, 1 of another. That's going to get me 4, and then 3 of my other color. So I'm doing 3-1-3. I'm going to sew back through the odd color bead on the row before. So you're always going to pick up that odd color. The next time I go through, I'm going to continue with the same thing, making these little points, adding 3, 1, 3, 7 beads in total, and then sewing back through the next red bead, just going around in the pattern. So when you're doing the next row, we're going to go through the green bead because that's going to be my off color bead. So whatever the B bead is that you pick, the one that's on there less per row, that's what we're going to be sewing around. That's how we're doing this netting pattern. And I'll do a couple more, and then we'll go the whole way around, going through that odd colored bead. And that's going to get me then this little kind of flower shape that it starts off with. And I'm going to continue the whole way around doing that 3, 1, 3 pattern. So now I've gone the whole way around my row doing that little floral pattern and doing this netting pattern. I have my last rotation of 3, 1, 3 on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through that first red bead that we came out of. I'm going to take my needle back through there. I'm going to go up those 3 beads that I put on, the first 3 red beads, and then up through the green bead, the odd colored bead as well. So I'm going up through that green bead, and that's going to get me my last little point. The next row is going to be my third row, and I'm going to do a grouping of 9. So this one I'm going to switch. I'm going to do 4, 1, 4, which 4 plus 1 plus 4 is going to get me 9. And after I get those on, I'm going to pick up the next green bead that's on the next point. And that's going to create my next little netted section. Again, I'm going to do one more section of 4, 1, 4, getting 9 beads on as total. And like I said, you can go through and you can say, okay, I want to do 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. So you can change around the numbers a little bit, but you're just going to continue going, putting on your 9 beads total, whatever pattern you want. I'm doing 4, 1, 4. And then I'm sewing through the next green bead, the next odd colored bead from the row before. And I'm going to go the whole way around doing that same pattern. So here I've gone the whole way around doing my third row of that 9 beads. I'm getting ready to put my last 9 beads on. I'm going to sew through that first green bead that was there, plus the 4 green beads that I put on first in row 3, and then also that first odd colored red bead. And you can see the patterns just repeating over and over again. And next we're going to be on row 4. If you forget where you are, you can always count 1, 2, 3 with a zigzag here if you zigzag along. You can also take your little list that I showed you, that you have the different measurements listed on. You can just cross off as you're going along. So for row 4, we're going to do the same thing, but we're doing it with 13 beads. So 13, I'm going to do 6 of one color, and then I'm going to do 1 of another color, and then 6 of another, because 6 plus 1 plus 6 is going to give you that 13 number. Sew through the next red in line and continue with that pattern the whole way around the line of the circle. So here I am ending row 4, and again all we're going to do is we're going to go through that last bead. And then we're going to go up the row that we put on through those 6 beads, coming out row of bead 7. We're going to go into row 5, and row 5 and row 4 actually have the same amount of beads. So we're going to be doing 13 beads again. This time I'm going to switch my colors. So I was doing the red and green, now I'm going to do the green and red. So again, I'm going to put on all of my beads. I'm doing 6 greens, 1 red, 6 greens, and I'm going to go the whole way around my circle. Okay, so I'm done going around my row 5 here, and again all I'm doing is picking up the last bead in the row before, as well as going up to the first odd color bead. Now for row 6, we're going to do 19 beads. So for my 19 beads, I'm going to do 9 of one color, 1 of another, 9 of another color. So I'm going to do 9 of my red, 1 of my greens, 9 of my red, and I'm going to let them drop down next to my last bead here, shorten my tail a little bit. Then again, I'm going to go to my next odd color bead from the row before, pick that up and sew through. And I'm going to continue doing that 19 row count the whole way around row 6. So again, I'm getting ready to end this row. I go through that bead and up to the top of the odd colored bead. And I'm going to come out that green bead. And I'm going to get ready to do row 7. Row 7 is my last row before I put on some of my beads here. I'm going to actually be using some Preciosa beads. And I'm doing row 7. Row 7 is going to have 23 beads. So I'm going to do basically 11, 1, 11. So I'm going to do 11 of my green, 1 of my red, 11 of my green. And once I have that pattern, I'm going to go through the next green bead at the top of the point there. I'm also going to have to add on some thread. If you need help adding on thread and you have to add on any, you can check out some of our other YouTube videos on how to add thread to projects. And then I'm going to sew through this next green bead and continue going the whole way around my little cover here. So I'm going to show how to add on some more thread. I'm getting ready to add my thread. I have one piece of thread that's a new piece, and then I have the old piece. What I'm going to do is actually move the old piece kind of out of the way. I'm tying the new piece of thread onto the old piece of thread, nice and tight. Then I'm going to push that knot down next to where it needs to be. And then I'm going to tie the two ends together one more time. I'll cut the thread down a tiny bit, but still leave some ends on. So when I'm done with my project, I can drop a little glue there. But I'm not going to glue now because I don't want to glue any of the whole shut of the beads. But this way I know exactly where that knot needs to go. And I'm ready to continue on working on that row 7. So here I am having finished row 7. I'm just going to get ready to go through that last bead and up and snake through that whole row, coming out there on the 12th bead. And I'm going to get ready to do my last row. So row 8, you can tell that it's getting bigger here. Row 8 is a little bit different. Row 8, I'm doing basically 10 sections of these. Again, I'm using some Preciosa crystals, and these are actually round Preciosa crystals. We have these in many of our stores, as well as online at the Bead Co. We actually sell them in factory packs, so if you need a larger quantity. And I'm going to be using 10 of these crystals, and it's going to go that I'm going to do 9 beads, a crystal, and 9 beads. Because green is so dominant here, I'm actually going to use red as my last row. So I'm going to do red beads, and I'm going to do 9 red beads. Actually, let's do 8 red beads. I'll do 8 red beads, 1 green bead, my crystal goes on, and then I'll repeat the opposite. So I'll do 1 green, and I'll do my 8 reds. I'm going to let that drop down. Briolets really look nice for this. Any sort of crystal drops. You can use gemstones. It's kind of up to you. You could hang little charms down. I've made them before that I've used little birthstones, or I've done ones in crystal and put everybody's birthstones along the sides in the way. So you can really change this pattern up a little bit. Actually, probably on the start of this video, I'll picture a different Christmas ball just to show you some more variety. And to show you some of the more elegant looking ones. And we'll continue doing this then the whole way around my ball to add my little crystals and some bling on the ends. So I've reached the end of my project, and I've gone the whole way around adding my crystals the whole way around the project. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to stitch back through that first bead, and instead of going up the beads, I'm actually going to come back the beads, and I have my little knot there, so I'm actually going to take advantage of that. What you can do is, if you don't have any knots around it or any thread extensions around it, you can actually just kind of pick up to the side and do a little sewer's knot like this, making a knot underneath the cord and then pulling nice and tight and glue in that section. I'm going to take advantage of having that little cording end there, and I'm just going to knot this one more time to it. I'm going to glue my ends then, Give a nice little tight knot. I'm going to glue all my ends, both the start and also the finish knot. And then all you do is you take your Christmas ball and you just slide the ornament cover over, kind of push it down, and then the weight of it, it'll just hang right on the ball, right over your Christmas ball. You can see this one here is a little bit shorter variety of this longer one. You can keep going doing more rows. You can net around the ball like this one's is here, or you can just make it that these hang down a little bit further and bring a little bit more weight down. But it makes a nice Christmas ball cover. You can also use it as a doily, or it can go in a larger opening around a wine bottle. So hopefully you have fun making this Christmas ornament covers, and they go just right over the ornament. They look great on a tree. It's really nice to make them in different families' colors with birthstones on the end to make them really, really meaningful. You can even use a clear ball and decorate the inside of the ball as well. They sell those at a lot of the Christmas shops that you can use and decorate the inside of the ball as well as the outside of the ball. Again, there's tons of varieties on this. You can use different patterns in your netting. You don't have to use the same number that I did. You can use any color, really any size will work. You just need to play around based on the size of your ball and how many rows you want to do as well. So thanks a lot for watching. Enjoy the holidays and definitely have fun making a bunch of these Christmas covers for a really special tree. Check us out on Facebook and watch some of our other YouTube videos for great ideas for the holidays as well as just for everyday beading. So thanks a lot and have a great rest of your evening.